Hi, welcome to Ms. Richardson's U.S. History 5-Minute Lectures. This information will be U.S. Notes 4.3, The Cold War Begins. It includes information that aligns with the first section on your Unit 4 study guide. Now remember, you have control of the lecture and you can use that study guide as you go through to help you take the notes. Pause whenever you need to, rewind and rewatch if you need to, and make sure you bring any questions you have to class. So let's go ahead and get started. In the last set of notes, I talked about the tensions between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. Remember, the Potsdam Conference caused some of these tensions. But what were the results of the Potsdam Conference? That's really our question today. Well, with the increased tension between the U.S. and the Soviet Union, the two countries stopped working together. The Soviet Union essentially cut themselves off from Western Europe, leading Winston Churchill of Great Britain to say an Iron Curtain had descended on Europe. And that term, Iron Curtain, remained throughout the Cold War. This means that an invisible barrier existed between the two sides of Europe, East and West, and that trade and ideas did not pass between the two sides. So there you can see the Iron Curtain. With this division, Stalin also refused to meet some of the agreements that had been made at Potsdam and Yalta. He refused to acknowledge the Declaration of a Liberated Europe, he refused to allow free elections in Eastern Europe, and he created Soviet satellite nations in Eastern Europe. The Soviets believed the triumph of communism was inevitable and that communism and capitalism could not coexist peacefully in the world. So they were looking at this as they were going to win. These actions and beliefs increased the U.S. distrust of Stalin and of the Soviet Union. It also caused a fear in America that communism would spread throughout the world and that would threaten our power. This fear led the U.S. to develop a new foreign policy based on the idea of containment. Under the idea of containment, the U.S. accepted that Eastern Europe was already lost to communism. They determined that it was their duty to stop the spread of communism from the rest of the world, or in other words, to contain communism in Eastern Europe, or to Eastern Europe. This foreign policy plan was a big idea. To implement this broad, big idea of containment, smaller policies and actions were put into place by the U.S. The Marshall Plan, the Truman Doctrine, Berlin Airlift, and NATO are all examples of containment policies. We're actually going to look at these 4 policies in our next couple sets of notes, because this is the end of Notes 4.3. Hopefully you learned something. Bring any questions you have to class tomorrow. I'll see you then.